Namaskar, Jai Jinendra. I welcome you all to the 20th online lecture by International School for Jain Studies. Today's topic, the application of non-violence for total transformation is the most and we can say ever relevant topic for the entire world and entire humanity. And if we have a look on entire Indian philosophical systems, entire philosophical schools, we see that Vedic philosophy, Baudd tradition, Jain tradition, they all propagate ahimsa as supreme value for mankind. But Jain tradition takes it to the supreme level. Vedic philosophy believes that the violence committed for the sake of dharma should not be considered as violence. Vaidiki himsa, himsa na bhavati. And on the other hand, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist way of life is focused on compassion rather than ahimsa. But the entire Jain philosophy, entire Jain ethics and way of life moves around its central concept of ahimsa. So, in this session, we are going to see how ahimsa is capable to transform the world and able to provide the solution to the world's problem. So, Dr. Veena Howard, professor of Asian Religious Traditions at California State University, Fresno, is with us today to deliver this ever relevant topic. In this session, Dr. Howard holds the endowed chair in Jain and Hindu Dharma and serves as the director of the M.K. Gandhi Center of Inner Peace and Sarvodaya at California State University. Currently, Professor Howard is in India as Fulbright Nehru Fellow and Sage associated with for this fellowship, Seth Hirachand Nemchand Jain Chair at Pune University. Vinaji, on behalf of myself, behalf of ISJS, I welcome you to this virtual platform of this session as chief speaker for this event. To chair this session, we have our own Dr. Narendra Parsanji. We all are well familiar with Dr. Parson. He is a California-based uh, anesthesiologist with over 55 years of experience. He is devoted to charitable efforts and Jain studies. Dr. Parson has given lectures on the application of Jain philosophy, particularly how Jain principles relate to the medical field and health. uh, Dr. Parson is actually actively supports ISJS activities. Sir, I welcome you to this 20th edition of our online session on different aspects of genealogy. I welcome Dr. Sugan Chand Jain and Dr. Sulekh Chand Jain. Both are the founders are ISJS. So on behalf of myself and my team, sir, I welcome you both to this virtual platform of ISJS. We have our own Dr. Manish Mehta ji, Dr. Nitin Sahaji from US. Sir, I welcome you both. We have Dr. Ashok Jetawat ji from Udaipur, Professor Susma Singhvi ji, uh, Dr. Srikant Gadvir, who is the coordinator of Bhagwan Sital Nath Chair for Jain Archaeology at Deccan College, Pune, with his student and colleague, assistant professor at Bhagwan Sital Nath Chair for Jain Archaeology, Mr. Hussein Bum. Uh, there are many faces. So I welcome you all. I can say Nital Wafnaji and yes, Mr. Tessa Kohn and many others, Abhaji from Delhi. I welcome you all to this virtual session by ISJS. Once again, I welcome you all who are attending this session from the various part of the globe. Thank you. Over to you, Pragya.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pandey, for formally welcoming all the guests that we have today. Now, with the permission of the chair, I would directly move to our speaker, Dr. Veena Havard, to deliver her talk on application of nonviolence for total transformation. Veena ji.
First, I want to thank all of you for joining this evening, this morning. For some of you, it's morning. Some of us, it's evening. So it's great to see some faces which are familiar. Some names on the screen are familiar. Some are not. So it's lovely to see you all. And thank you, Dr. Shnitra Pandeyji, for organizing this. And great to see Dr. Chiganjan, Dr. Salekjan, Dr. Parson. Look at Sulik Jainji. Thank you so much. So your darshan this morning of yours, great. Thank you. So I have been thinking about this topic for many years, ahimsa. What does ahimsa mean? Does it simply mean abstaining from violence, or it is more than that? And now the scholars have done a lot of research on it, a lot of study on it. And the more and more I view the world, the more and more I feel that nonviolence has to be the central of our discourse, central of our behavior, central of our being, central of our what we do, what we eat, how we live, how we think. So it's more and more, it's just dawning upon me as I'm watching this world go around me. So, I mean, I've been studying Gandhi for last over 2 decades now, and really understanding ahimsa through him and through the civil rights leaders in the United States, through Cesar Chavez, through vegan movements, through just all this research is coming along with what does violence do to us? Not just simply killing. So that's my talk is going to be various dimensions of violence. So I'm coining this term, used to be nonviolent revolution. So I have created this website just now, today. It's called Nonviolence Revolution. Not just not that we have to be nonviolent, but it's the nonviolence, ahimsa revolution. So that has to be in the forefront. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you. If you allow me for a second. If you don't see my screen, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to just dive right into it. So all of us here, I think, in this Zoom room know about this quote. And nothing new, but I'm going to look at a little closely. Do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature or living being. This is a very tall order. It didn't say, thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt not murder, or abstain from killing, right? So it's so many layers in this quote. The more and more I meditate, the more and more I find out that I still have to learn about the various dimensions of ahimsa. The second on the screen is, you see, parasparo graho jivanam. We just see that saying, and then we say that we all are interconnected, our life is dependent on one another. But I think this quote exactly works with do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature or living being. Any creature, not just human beings, not just animals, any living being. We know that it is very difficult to live that life. We know that. And when I teach this, when I study it, it's not that the Jain thinkers didn't know that this is impossible. Living means committing violence in some forms. Even breathing right now, I'm killing. Even in this room, when I clean the room, we do harm. What is going on here? That's the point I'm going to drive home. So parasparo graho jivanam, that my life is dependent on the other beings. I, Veena, cannot be me without the support of other beings. any moment, any second. Right now, I'm giving a talk and you all sign out. I'll stop talking because there's no audience. Because of you, I am speaking. So it's always parasper, it's a mutual that we need to understand that we cannot live in silos. We cannot say it's my thing, it's my idea. It's always coming from other places. So I want to share with you this quote from this very unexpected person. His name is Sam Harris, a philosopher, author, and neuroscientist. And he's kind of really a skeptic of religion. And he says that his book is called The End of Faith: Religion, Terror, and the Future of Reason. But his idea is that the faith religions have created so much problem, so much terror. So hence, I don't think religion is very important for us. So what he says, however, if you think that it would be impossible to improve upon the 10 Commandments as a statement of morality, you really owe it to yourself to read some other scriptures. And then he explains that once again, we need to look no further than the Jains. Mahavira, the Jain patriarch, surpassed the morality of the Bible with a single sentence. And what is that sentence? Do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, or torment, torture, or kill any creature or living being. This is very fascinating for me as a student and teacher of religion, that he says that, yes, the religions have been an issue for the humanity, but let's look at Jainism, because Jainism has the answer for how to live life and how to move forward. So we go to the next one. Then I'm going to think about nonviolence more broadly. So we have 5 anuvratas that we are supposed to do. Ahimsa, Satya, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Prigraha, then Shama, Anekantavada, Danam, and vegetarianism. So I see those 9 principles are interconnected to be for total transformation as a nonviolence, as ahimsa. You cannot have ahimsa without satya. As soon as we speak untruth, we are doing violence to the another, violence to the cause. We cannot have control of ourself, control of our senses, and not be violent. So on and so forth. So it's these are the principles of Jainism. When if you look at, you take away all, but you say, just tell us in a very simple terms and practices. Those on the right is more practices. These are disciplines. Of course, they're practices as well, but those require more relationship with other. They all require relationship with other, but the last, the Shama, you have to forgive someone. And Ekantavada, we have to do someone else's views, we have to consider. Danam, we have to give charity to someone. And vegetarianism, minimum, can we have the nonviolent diet. So Gandhi offered his highest praise to Jainism when he said, Jainism perhaps was the most logical of all faiths, and its most remarkable characteristic was its scrupulous respect for all things that lived. And this is very early on in his career, he said that. So what does that mean? Perhaps the most logical faith is not, it didn't say the most endearing faith. They didn't say the most, I enjoy this religion, logical. And that's the logic that we're going to talk about, that how illogical violence is. When we are not careful in our lives, and which most of us are not, then how much damage we have done to the world around us. So when we think about the new era of conflict and nonviolence for total transformation, so the conflict has changed, as I have seen now, maybe because we have now more access through our phones, our computers, our internet, immediately the information comes, but it feels like we're bombarded by violent ideas, violent thought, even though we are resisting violence at some times or many times, the words are violent. As we know right now, what is happening, let it be United States, let it be any other way in the world, the conflict is happening, but then the counter conflict is also violent. So you see that there is a constant, I talked to students, they said just they're overwhelmed by the either even we are confronting violence and then we confront with more violence. So what has changed? Violence is waged between domestic groups rather than states. So a lot of domestic people on the name of religion, ethnicity, gender, there's a lot of fights are going on within this is the recent research that I'm going to share with you. Homicides are becoming more frequent in some parts of the world where gender-based attacks are increasingly globally. The long-term impact on development of the interpersonal violence, including violence against children, is also more widely recognized. So a lot more violence against children than, so this is studies, we're not just making it up. Technological advances have raised concerns about lethal, autonomous weapons and cyber attacks. Meanwhile, international cooperation is under strain, international cooperation is under strain, diminishing global potential for the prevention and resolution of conflict and violence in all forms. So the above ideas that all four are even made more problematic because we don't have the voices that are standing together and say we need to fight this together. There are so many different opinions about violence itself and what is violence and how do we address it, or whether it is a violence at all. So that's a very dangerous situation that has arrived in our world. So for the 21st century, it is the nonviolence revolution. We need to talk, we need to teach, we need to speak, we need to live. Nonviolence is, even though people may not like it, may not want to hear it about interpersonally, in relationships, in friendships, in every aspect of life, we need to talk about it. We need to be out there to say things about if there is a violent words, violent ideas that are being presented. So scientists have shown that each life has value, interdependence, right? I just began with my talk with that. But Jainism has been saying that forever. Hinduism is saying that forever. But the way Jainism highlights nonviolence, ahimsa, it is showing that it is the interdependence. So hence, try not to harm others. Social scientists have shown that society that is based on nonviolent structures has a potential to be more happy, more satisfied. Happiness GDP index. And when we are happy, we can also be prosperous. It doesn't mean that we won't be prosperous. We will be always joyful. Religious studies scholars have revealed that compassion and care in all religions is present in all traditions, not just any one religion's monopoly. Psychologists have revealed that violence and domination produce effects, long-lasting effects on the victims. So it's not that now all the studies are proving that violence is not okay. At least we try in our world. What can we can't solve the geopolitical problems. We cannot solve, but we can try in our own little ways to bring nonviolence to the center. Neuroscientists have concluded that trauma caused by any form of violence can be transferred into future generations. Now I have seen the babies are born, and if their parents were somehow abused or and their brains begin to change, and they are showing the signs of trauma. And historians and social scientists show that nonviolent movements for justice are more successful than violent movements. So here is the picture for you, why we should do, not because our religion tells us, not because our teachers tell us, yes, because they tell us, but there is a really practical, pragmatic reasons. And you see there is a total transformation because you need total nonviolence. So ahimsa and its broader definition. So how I see ahimsa, nonviolence, is a virtue or discipline involving commitment to the negation of violence in all aspects of life. That's my quote. And resistance against the systems of violence. So they're both not just simply do not injure, do not enslave. Yes, but when we look at our teachers' lives, if we look at our texts, the last part really rings true, that resistance against the systems of violence and oppression, torment, subjugation, etc. So I'm going to give 12 points. The first one is philosophical and ethical reasons for using nonviolence. The first is violence breeds more violence, period. We know that if somebody hits us, we hit back, or even any small ways. I experiment with that always violence creates more violence. Violence perpetuates the cycle of retribution. So again, karma theory comes in, which Jainism really speaks very clearly and very in detail. And true peace can only be achieved through nonviolence. So I get this question all the time, how about the wars? And I'll come to that in exceptions. But here I say that the true peace, no matter what we see in the history of our known history of the world, whenever it's a win by conflict, most of the time, I won't say all, most of the time, it ends in more violence. And the underlying unity of creatures, all creatures, will be upheld in the only way is nonviolence. And that's the challenge, right? Because we are, in a way that we have opponents, we have opposing ideas, and we are, political leaders. How do we go about this kind of life but considering we are all interconnected, that can be, as I read in the first slide, that how the Jain teachings tell about how we are mutually interdependent. And that's very, very important. So first one is that we have to have a philosophical and ethical commitment to the culture of violence. Nonviolence. That's my fault, my bad. So no to wars, no to killing, no to environmental exploitation, no to sexual violence, no to unjust treatment of people, no to suffering of animals, no to billions of dollars in the weapons of destruction and racism, sexism, and capital plantation, as Reverend James Lawson said. So it's not just one side. There's so many ways that one has to really think about nonviolence. From abstaining from violence to active resistance of violence. So, okay, then you don't injure, don't abuse, don't insult. What do I do if somebody is being insulted, injured, abused in front of me? And that is the total transformation comes. Okay, I can do nonviolence, but if I watch it happening, how do we do that? So the whole idea, the whole tradition of Jain teachers, they have resisted. They talked about Vedic sacrifices. They don't want to be part of that. They resisted in many, many ways. In their own life, the whole ascetic life is a resistance to the violence in many aspects, what we see. So here I'm going to pause for a second and just make a difference between nonviolence and non-hyphenated violence. So generally we see non-hyphen, like not, hinsa, right? A non, I can't see you guys, so you can't nod, ahimsa. But then the nonviolence becomes a system in itself. Is ahimsa, which is both sides, care for others, resisting violence, and practicing nonviolence. So both ways it has to be, not just simply abstaining from violence, but resisting violence as well. So you can ask me in the during question answers. So drawing on research to confront violence, I think it's important that people say, why should we be nonviolent? So Research suggests that actions performed by an individual beget similar action in return. For example, where reciprocal dating violence occurs, 50% of girls who receive violence in relationship will end up sending back violence in return. Violence in need does beget violence, and those who initiate violence are prone to experience violence in their lives. So here is the reason why, again, the karma theory is built in, right? And these are the research now. Again, the Jain teachers, our traditions have been saying that for many, many, many centuries. And here they're saying, we do violence, we sort of get conditioned rather than saying, I'm not going to do to others because it hurt me. People become opposite and they do the same thing to others because the cycle continues. And now the third is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a very important part of, here I use the hyphenated nonviolence, because this is from Guardian. This is not my word. This is the quote from this newspaper. What they say that we talk about, we ask for forgiveness to one another, and we think nonviolence as a forgiveness is part of it. But look at the research that have shown that when we forgive, we have lowered heart attack disease risk, reduced blood pressure, steadier heart rate, stronger immune response, ease of sleep, improved cholesterol levels, and reduced. There are many doctors in this Zoom forum, so you probably can help me afterwards. Is that true? But I see myself that when there is a knot in the heart, then where there is a conflict, we are not able to sleep well. We are just very agitated. So I had my students do this experiment, and I asked them, I said, think about, I said, how do we do this? But this person didn't. I said, try it. And they tell me that how it helps them, because it's the science of it. It's science of nonviolence, not just simply, religious ideas, of course, but they're rooted in experiments and experiences. Then fourth is nonviolence, focusing on love and life is also self-care, psychologically and morally. It's not just for you, do not injure, enslave, oppress any living being. In turn, we are being happy also because we are not abusing, hurting anyone else. So it is a self-care because I want to take care of me inside. A way to confront the harmful emotions of hatred and ill will cultivate compassion, forgiveness, and a sense of shared community. Studies show that hatred is a powerful emotion that can cause serious damage to the person how feels it. All about hate definition, health effects. Also, this is an article that published in 2024, that it is not just simply, because it is the right thing socially, but is for our being is not good. And nonviolent communication. So how do we do the nonviolent communication? Here comes the idea of even anekantavada. Like there are many, we talk over one another. We don't want to let other people speak, especially when we are in conflict. How do we do that? Again, the total transformation so far was a shama, not hatred, philosophically and ethically, now communication. So all is being part of our total being, not simply that I am saving myself from not harming. So the how to address divisions and differences among fellow community members. So dialogue, nonviolent communication, sitting together, solving problems, negotiation, all kind of tools. And we know when we are violent in our speech, sometimes those words, the impressions of those words last longer than if somebody hits us, because they're so much painful. They almost like pierce our hearts. So it's very important that we don't talk over. I mean, this is the picture from what we've seen in one of our political debates, right? Everybody's talking at the same time and not talking about the ideas that are needed. Hence, the nonviolent communication is very, very important to be. nonviolence and positive interfaith relations. So when you say, what do you mean by nonviolence and interfaith? Because there's so much violence, even the interfaith or lack of interfaith relations, because people think your faith is not good enough, my faith is better, and all kind of disputes have happened on the name of religion. So if one can, really see that in our understanding, again, Anikantavada, many sides of truth, many sides of being, many sides of reality, then we live together in peace, not conflict. So thinking about violence beyond killing, and that's very important. So, but sometimes we think, oh, I don't kill, I'm vegetarian, so hence I'm non-violent. There are more and more, I think, that we all are participant in violence each day, and we can all do something to stop violence. So what Gandhi said, the earth has enough resources for our need, but not for our greed. And I think thinking about how many of us think about poverty as violence. It is, according to Gandhi, it is violence. And whatever Jain teacher did, they let go everything themselves. That's the voluntarily poverty, the voluntarily being like the ones who don't have. Look at their lifestyle. They were all giving beings. We can't do that, but there has to be a middle way, in a way that we can all address this issue. Gender violence, environmental exploitation, and other systems exploitation. So thinking of violence just beyond killing, there is a lot more in between that goes on, which is violent. Now, this is a little turning from doing nonviolence and using nonviolence as a strategic way. So considering the value of strategic nonviolence, so these are the books, there are hundreds of books now on nonviolence and justice, nonviolent in communication, nonviolence. They may not give credit to Jain traditions, they may not give credit to Gandhi, but there is an awareness, there is a whole idea of that nonviolence is something, has to be, we may not be able to do it, but something has we strive for. So the philosophical and ethical worldview of ahimsa requires resistant violence. It is very hard. So again, we say, do not injure. I read this verse as a mantra. So I have used so far 3 times in my talk. And it's not that I forgot that I'm repeating it. I promise. I'm doing it purposely to remind us to what nonviolence is and how we see. Again, do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature. So the killing comes the last. If you think about it, in this verse, in this shloka, or in this sentence, the killing comes the last. The enslave, oppress, abuse, injure, torment comes first, because those are very, very violent. Right? Because once a person is dead, they're gone. Then it's karma on us, or however we want to see it. But when they're tortured or killed and insulted, that is the really, really death in this life. So what Gandhi said, no man or person could be actively nonviolent and not rise against social injustice, should be injustice no matter where it occurred. So it has to be injustice, not one word, not two. That one has to be nonviolent and use nonviolence to confront violent systems. So what Gandhi said, nonviolence as a method to confront violence. So he was, he studied Jainism. He was a student of Srimad Rajchandra. He was really was asking questions to him. His mother was very influenced by Jain teachings. So he had really imbibed this idea of nonviolence. But when you see, he thought differently about violence and nonviolence and all kind of things. So the nonviolence is considered as not just, so many people, when Gandhi fought And with all different people who joined him, including Jain women, Jain leaders, and Sikhs and Hindus, and all religious people joined him, all from all over the world. Many people think after he passed away, that he was assassinated and the world had moved on, then nonviolence could not be used anywhere else, because it is only Indians could do nonviolence, because Indian traditions are so steeped into the idea, the discipline of nonviolence, so others couldn't do. But that was incorrect. The nonviolence goes global with many, many leaders who are following nonviolence. So if you see, this is the many different movements in the US that is nonviolence is our strength. Think about that. Not nonviolence or strategy, nonviolence is our strength. And these, if you see, the young men and women are sitting in on the black and white, they were the resistors of the segregationist laws in the US South. I mean, the blacks and whites, African Americans and the white Americans were divided or separated because of their color. And they fought without using even a one slap, one stick, and they wanted to completely be nonviolent. And Reverend James Lawson, who was the leader at this time of this group, he came to India in 1955, and he learned nonviolence. He was in Nagpur, and he studied nonviolence. And he gave credit to, many times in his talks with me, he will say that Jainism really holds the key to, in a way, philosophically and ethically, nonviolence. So he's Reverend Lawson and Rosa Parks and Gandhi and all these inspiration for nonviolent resistance in the United States, the broader applications, not simply what they were doing, that do not injure, insult, abuse. They were being injured, insulted, abused, and killed. So how do we do this nonviolence? Through nonviolence, that they will resist that heinous systems. So this is a study by Erika Chenvat, who's a Harvard professor in 2022. She's a social scientist. She showed that how historically the nonviolent movements do better than the violent. So the violent movements are in the orange, and the blue are nonviolent, the orange are violent. So even without fail, all over the world, she didn't say just America or India, or all over the world, hundreds of campaigns were more successful if they were nonviolent campaigns. So ahimsa brings positive political and social change. So the Palestine nonviolent movement that happened, and it didn't go, but at that time it was 20 years ago, or 15, 20 years ago, was getting steam at that time. The Philippine movement, the Chilean movement, Yugoslavian movement, the Arab Spring nonviolent movement. Again, there's a lot of studies how, when they become successful, you have to keep with the nonviolence, stay with it. You cannot let go. Once we let go, like we see nowadays world, then it goes back to the violence, because people lose trust in nonviolence, and then they resort to, or certain factions get hold of the movement and they use violence, and then everyone becomes part of that violence. So you have to be sustainable, nonviolent resistance. So I'm coming to the end, taking care of our shared earth. So how much would giving up meat help the environment? So if you see, I'm doing both sides of the second slide, all 5 anuvratas, and Danam, and Anikantavada, vegetarianism, and see how it is. So environmental violence, collective suicidality. Protecting your habitat is a prerequisite for health. What will happen? Going vegan for 2/3 of meals could cut food-related carbon emissions by 60%. And this is the study that comes that how we can look at different solutions, but if you look at that if people, 2/3 of the world population, cut food-related carbon emission by 60%. I mean, that's a large numbers. This is a very interesting chart. When you say United States greenhouse carbon footprint, and you see that if you are vegan, then how less it would be, and the 2/3 vegan, and then vegetarians, and no dairy, and reduced diet, average diet. So these are I like that that quote, high stake diet. You know, it's really is a high stakes. Like we have very high stakes in this issue of. So we think about that how this is not given by any, Hindu or Jain or religious reasons, but they're doing this environmental reasons. But we don't talk about that in our world. I live in a valley where, the meat is very, very prevalent. And or even here, we just don't really have this part of the conversation that we love our earth, that we need to think about what we eat. So ahimsa towards animals. I'm giving a paper. I gave a paper last year at Oxford, Animals Ethics Summer School, and I'm trying to do this time in August as well. So ahimsa toward animals, that's part of the environmental care. And Delhi High Vipul Jain, an animal crusader, has started a Vote for Compassion campaign in the hope that politicians will make animal welfare part of their whole agenda. So that's another point that is really think about. Respect for other lives includes non-human animals as well. I visited some Jain bird hospitals in Jaipur last month, and I am just amazed by how I'll write about that for my Oxford paper, that how thoughtfully they've created those cages where the birds can fly out when they're ready to fly out, when they're feeling healthy enough. How creatively, how thoughtfully those animal hospitals are created. So how to respond to violence? That's a question I get all the time for students. How about wars? How about somebody attacks us? What do we do? So, so again, I say all things existing, all things living, all things whatsoever should not be slain, to be treated with violence or insulted or tortured or driven away, right? So how do I act? And that's a really difficult question, right? But it's not so difficult if we really think through it. The way Jain tradition, Jainology has thought through it, we can really, really, if we're careful, think through it. So we know the estimated 12 million wars should be disrupted before they interrupt. So Americans' wars have, for the last few years, or few decades rather, 12 million dead in America's wars. So what is the question? I mean, there's so many people are dying because of wars, but there should be really important to say wars should be disrupted before they erupt. The only way that I studied quite a bit the Jain texts and then how I see it through different teachers. So Gandhi said during the World War II, people were asking him whether the World War should go because of the Holocaust, and he was saying no. And then finally he said, if there could be a justifiable war in the name of and for humanity, a war against Germany to prevent the wanton persecution of a whole race would be completely justifiable. Then he says, but I do not believe in any wars. So that's very, very important. There is a exception here and there, but you cannot believe in war for solving problems. We know that the war did not solve problems. So why not go to wars? Because even though we spend so much resources on wars, whole world is using a lot of resources. Loss of human lives and suffering, wars bring both military, personal, and innocent civilians. Destruction of infrastructure and resources, political instability and conflict, economic loss, moral harm, psychological harm. And now I'm researching right now that the violence against women and children, that is really problem post-war or during war. What happens? Without fail, Any wars, there is a lot more sexual, physical, moral, psychological violence against men, women, and children. So only nonviolence, when is stopping the cycle of violence, only that time can be permitted. So Padmanabh Jaini surmises the Jain texts and traditions. What he said appear to have outlined a path of nonviolence that would allow a lay adherent to conduct his daily life with human dignity while permitting him to cope with the unavoidable reality of the world in which violence is all pervasive. I just found this book on your right, Swatantra Sangram Mein Jain, and this book has hundreds of names of Jain people who participated in the India's independence struggle, including women. My tomorrow's talk at the Flame University on the Jain women activists, which we don't hear much about that. So they knew that, and they knew that they may get killed. They knew that that also their resistance may incite violence, but they were doing for the greater good. So what I say for us, explore the infinite possibilities of nonviolence as a moral force for total transformation. So this image is not that the cow and the lion will drink together. We all are lion and cow at the same time. And we see each day that there is a opposite aggression, the violent situations. How do we bring that to that we stay together through interfaith relations, through ethical way, through food, through communication, through interpersonal relationships, through dialogue, how we can constantly are coming to the same water hole. We are not denying the other person of that water hole and saying, hey, you're different from me, very different from me. You're aggressive. I'm not going to give you. So that is the image I studied, and then I see what does that mean. So what I say, community dedicated to nonviolence becomes a movement. So that's my quote. So thank you so much. Nonviolence in all aspects of life equals uplift of all. Thank you so much. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Veena. Thank you so much. The session is now open for discussion. Do you have any questions, comments? Please share.
And I'm sorry about the disturbance that happened in the middle.
All right, it happens. Manish ji.
Veena ji, Jai Jinendra, thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
That was a very inspiring and wonderful talk. And I must really compliment you on the research and the information you presented in a very meaningful and easy to grasp way. So it seems like a lot of nonviolence that you're talking about here in this relates to the kind of work of Johann Galtung. Have you heard? Yeah,
Yes,
positive.
I have.
Meaning peace is not just the absence of war, but is proactively doing things to uplift and do good in the world. And that's kind of like a big theme we use in Rotary International when we work towards peace and conflict studies and human development and disease prevention and other things. So I just wanted to lay that out. You might want to perhaps look into that deeper. But
Yes.
thank you. It was such a
Yes,
nice.
Manish ji, I do understand, but I do differentiate a little bit from him because that's a positive piece, negative piece. I'm saying the word is nonviolent. Gandhi did not use too much time nonviolence. I mean, peace. If Jain tradition could have said, live peacefully. Could have easily that could have been a doctrine of Jain tradition, right? But there was something going on. So I have, I'm the director of the Peace and Conflict Studies at Fresno State. I just, my colleague is taken on now. And so I look at it as a peace, what does that mean? And when we see in the geopolitical world, the peace is always on the expense of the others, on some power. When we say now peace happen, so I think even in the house, that somebody who's stronger voice and have more power, more bully, can be, we just kowtow to them. So I think here is that I don't think the West in a way talked about nonviolence the way You see the Indian traditions, especially Jainism and Hinduism. The Jainism goes into just totally into meticulously describing, and which we say is very difficult to live that life. But I say to Gandhi used to say that it doesn't mean impossible that you don't try. And if we can meet like a halfway or third or tenth of the way or 2% of the way, and I think that's the big thing, with our family, our society, our community. And the peace is always so precarious. It's always changing because right now we have a peaceful situation and so everybody's sitting quiet with fear. And so that is not nonviolent. So I think you're right, but it's just slightly different. I like the term nonviolence in a way because our teachers could have easily said, they said nonviolence leads to peace. Yes, the shanti comes in the end, but that's a byproduct of it. Until then, you strive. It's a struggle. It's not violence against, and violence is a total struggle of a humanity because we are so violent beings and we all want to control, force. You just watch ourselves I just watch as I go, my goodness, right? It's so much aggression. So I think it's important that how we constantly reminding ourselves for leading the path of nonviolence. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very
Dr. Veena, very nice present. Thank you very much for your nice and research-oriented presentation. We are very thankful to you. One question I would like to ask you. Once somewhere you have written two-third vegan. So I'm unable to understand what is this two-third vegan. And the second question is that in India, the concept of vegan is not that much popular. So if we just encourage vegans, so how much, if you are having the research statistics, how much it saves trees and that other environmental non-violence issues, if you are having the information. Thank you very much.
So yes, yeah, India veganism is not very popular because we as a culture has been, the only source of protein has been milk. And when I was being raised in India, it was not violent. Our cow, we had a cow in our home. We treated her so well. We did not send her to slaughterhouse. She called her, not it. Her name was Gauri. So there was a different system. Now with the industrialization of dairy and meat and every food is filled with violence. Even vegetables, the way we are growing, the way we are, the whole system has become violent because we have to produce in such mass quantities. So I think just like fasting, right? We say I'll fast once a week, and we can do veganism once a week. We can do veganism twice a week, or just cut down the morning milk. Or I think it's not going to make a big difference. Their argument is it's not going to make any difference because there's so many people the Western world is consuming such a high quantities of red meat. And we know that I think this is American studies, they're talking about America, which is, very tiny percent is vegan or vegetarianism. So India now has become, but I'm watching it for last 3 months. I've been here in India after over 30 years, coming back, reconnecting, that people are eating a lot more meat, let alone dairy. I mean, I'm saying why there is such a rise of eating, even they eat lean meat like chicken or while in America, the people are trying to become more vegetarian. And I wonder, what is the shift of what is going on here? That is not just simply, one religion, the other. The generally people, elite people, went to conferences, used to be all vegetarian, there is some dishes of meat on the one side. So I'm just wondering, why do we need in India meat? Because India is such a warm country. We have enough. So I want to just have layers of it. Okay, protein. If a child is crying because he doesn't have anything to drink or eat, we cannot teach him to be vegan. They need food. So we can't just, so we who are able to buy other kind of food, afford other kind of food. So there's a lot of question of affordability for poor people, those who have less, but generally people who have, enough, they should lead the movement and they should try. And I think that's the problem when we ask people to be vegan and they don't have enough to eat. They don't have time to think about vegan, non-vegan. They're just going to eat. Then vegetarianism should come in play instead of just veganism. I think for the West, it's becoming more and more because the carbon footprint is so high because of the meat consumption. It is so high that they know that even 15% cut down would really reduce the carbon footprint.
Thank you, Dr. Veena. I mean, we have, I think, many questions and many comments in the comment box.
My
And
goodness.
Dr. Raj has raised his hand.
As a Fulbright scholar, I am welcoming you. If it is
Hi.
possible, just come to Chennai.
Oh
We are
my
very much
goodness.
interested to host you here. That's a very important one. And then out of all the subjects you told today, you told us, I really want to focus on the dating violence. Dating violence is becoming a very big problem in India. The statistics shows 30 to 40% of the young women in dating relationships in India report experiencing violence, and 65% of college-aged women, especially the city centers, they are having a lot of dating violence. And
Yeah.
digital abuse in India now is 50% of the female, especially 18 to 24 age group, got
Yes.
dating violence. So
Dr. Raj, we cannot hear you. We also have Dr. Deshmani who wants to ask some questions.
okay, can you listen to me?
Yes,
Can you-
I heard you, and I think you're absolutely right. And if you think about when we talk about do not injure, abuse, inflict, but I read the 3-4 times that Mahavira's from Tattva Sutra, from Jain Sutra's text, includes all this, right? The inflicting suffering, the killing comes the last. That's what I mean when I say total transformation. We can be vegan, we can be very violent. We can be vegetarians, we can be very violent, right? In our relationships. Hence, that was 12-fold point. Through I'm watching the world, right? That how much to watch your mouth and mind too, all the time. It's a tapasya. I say the ahimsa is tapasya. Ahimsa is the way. People say, what do? We can do this because it is the path to awakening. Because once we get to that, the every being is its value and its own, not because of I give value to anyone or anything. And hence that I think the
Okay.
data need to bring a lot more awareness to that. So thank you.
I think Shuganji wants to say something, but before that, I'll just take Dr. Deshmani's question. Yes.
Yes, madam. Can uh, can you listen me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Ha. Madam, it was an excellent lecture covering Jainism, Gandhism, worldwide spectrum of violence, and how multiple nations are trying to soften the violence. But uh, my question is that total violence depends upon the attitude of an individual, and individual form the society. If an influential leader like Gandhi can influence the non-violence throughout the world, so there must be some influential leader. Now, if you see at the world level, there are all of those great leaders are influencing the violence because of greed and all those things. So how to change these things?
It's a great question. And I think we need to come forward as leaders and our young people, our adults, our elders who are here, they should. I think we are all shy away from politics. Gandhi, that's why he was in the mud, in the muck, right? You know, the man was assassinated, right? He couldn't himself stop the violence, right? I mean, there's so much violence happen, even regardless of this, whole life went to nonviolence. But even then, that shows it can be disappointing. It can be, the students say, why do you just think about it's not going to work? It did work and does work. Otherwise, we won't be all here and listening to one another. We are together here in this world. It does work and people do use it.
Okay. Shuganji.
Veena ji, to answer his question,
जी,
one of the most important, thesis for practice of non-violence is this: the practitioner has to be brave.
जी,
If you are not brave, you cannot practice non-violence. And I give you an example. Ashoka the Great, he was the most extreme violent person. When he reached extreme, then he realized the problems of violence and he became non-violent and practiced and preached throughout the world.
yes,
Nowadays, what is happening in India is that earlier we used to have Gandhi with his three monkeys saying that, don't speak, don't hear, don't see. Now that is changing to say, I am a Ram Bhakt. If I see Lanka before me, I'm going to burn it. So this attitude change is coming, and whatever you have put today, it shows the benefits of. So what we have to do is, we have to get some iconic people. Like Steve Jobs was there, and Ford was there, who brought Bhagavad Gita in the world. We need some iconic people who
जी,
believe in this, and then money makes the mayor go. They spend, people follow. Otherwise, non-violence and practice, it becomes a subject of academic discussions. We believe, if you believe in non-violence, I say, if I believe in violence, I must practice it. If I don't, like you said, I'm a vegetarian, but I'm the most violent person. So this means I'm not doing this. So कथनी करने में फर्क नहीं होना चाहिए. And then you are shown to the benefits. That if you are angry, what happens to your body? If you forgive, what happens to it? So these are the encouragement which you have to propagate and create a critical mass. And like the Diet for Revolution book by Robbins, when he spent 10 years cultivating organic food himself, leaving the Baskin Robbins thing, and then he wrote a book. And in first year, the meat consumption in America got down by 10%. So this is the type of people we need, that who can, So I'm just responding to what he's saying. So when I bought a murti of Mahatma Gandhi, and at the bottom it said, Ahimsa, bravery at its best.
yeah.
So thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir. Now I would request our chairperson to say a few words.
Pragya
Dr.
ji,
Praveen Pasa.
please
Yes,
invite,
sir.
please, Sunir ji is
Can I have
I
Sulet ji
didn't-
speak?
Yes, yes,
Or
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Sulet bhai.
Very briefly, Veena ji, you are a very powerful speaker and a very, very good teacher. Let me just, today we have one of the largest participation audience right now. 57 people listen to your talk from practically many corners of the world. Okay? This is something, speaks for your. So I have known you, Dr. Narendra Parsan, we have known you for over nearly 12 years. We have worked with you. And one of the questions Professor Dr. Deshmani asked, where are we creating the leaders? You are creating by teaching non-violence. You are creating those future Gandhis. Okay? Keep on doing that. And let me just share very quickly, some people may not know. 6 years ago, we established the first combined Hindu-Jain chair at which you are holding, followed up with another chair on Gandhi. Two positions at the same place for non-violence. Okay? What a marvel. You create the peace garden at the university where you are. How many places we can really talk about? Peace garden, where many of Gandhi's children means those people who got Nobel laureate and all, they are all shown. In every function at that university, you serve pure Jain vegan meal. And we have eaten. So I can go on and on. I just want to thank you for a beautiful talk. You make me very proud.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Sunil
This
ji.
really, I want to respond to him. He is my hero. So he's the leader. So I want to just say that hope is here, because when I just finished a course before I coming to India for Fulbright, peace, a philosophy of peace and nonviolence. You won't believe I had 18 or 19 students, and there were a couple of them were, I don't know whether one of them is here online, but is a 2 World War veterans. And how they articulated the power of nonviolence and the need for nonviolence in today's world, no one can do this. These two men who fought in the Gulf War, one in the Gulf War, and I think one later, somehow he was deployed. And they just so powerfully talked about why nonviolence is the way. And that is the power that happens in the classroom when these young people are coming forward and learning and taking it forward and writing about it and thinking about it. And I think that's the magic that gives me hope. I don't know whether I can solve the world problems, but I think that's the whole point, is interpersonally. We do our best in our little circles. You know, we incur trust, we incur care, forgiveness, love, and then we move forward. And we can't just give up because there's so much violence around us. So thank you so much, Dr. Jain.
Thank you. Now I would request Dr. Pasan to share his views.
Thank you, Pagave. I'd like to start by saying we have to thank the originator of ISJS. We have the two stalwarts right here. Everyone can guess who that is, Shuganji and Sulekbhai. And to continue the baton is Srinethaji, Pragyaben. They do some fantastic work on a daily basis to make us all get together like this and listen to the wonderful talk given by Veenaji. Like Sulekji mentioned, he spoke quite a few of the things I was going to say. So he stole my lines. So I have to regroup now. Anyway, I was going to say, like he said, and Veenaji agreed, that we've known each other for a while. And this is not the first time I've heard Veena. She speaks extremely well, as you all evidenced today. And she always does a great job. I got to tell you something that happened when we went to Fresno State College in 2020. Sulekji was with us, and so were other people. What really, for me, was very impressive was I interacted with students over there. And to me, the most impressive thing was one of the students, I asked him, why did you join this? How does it help you in your future academics, etc.? Oh, no, sir. She teaches us so nicely that I like to come back every day and attend her class. And I said, what'd you learn? He said, I learned how to live. I'm telling you. Those were the most impressive lines I ever heard from the student. And I'm sure you all will agree, if we could clone Veena Howard and have several of them around and teach these classes, that is the foundation I think will help us all. I'm sure you'll all agree. We don't need to impress upon us. I'll be gone in a few years, I'm sure. We need the younger generation to come out, understand, and practice what they're understanding, which will happen. But right now, like we all expressed earlier, how do we tell them that this is the way to be? They have to appreciate, understand, practice, and see how useful it is. For example, the veganism. I can tell you another little anecdote on that. There's a college locally in Los Angeles. Originally, they had 25, 30 students. Subsequently, they had about 60 to 80 every year. And their cafeteria did not have any vegetarian food. At the request of the students, they introduced vegetarian food. And guess what? About 3.5, 4 years ago, at the request of the students, and these are, by the way, students that attend the Jain study classes, now they have vegan food available in the cafeteria. My point is, it has to start on a basic fundamental level. And who else than people like Professor Howard leading the way, and ISJS helping along with this project. What a great combination. And I sincerely hope, pray, and wish that this continues forever and ever. Veena ji, thank you again for a wonderful lecture. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I learned a lot. I also appreciated the fact, like Manish mentioned, it had some validity in that you showed how studies had been done in different aspects of what you're talking about. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Grateful. Thank you so much. Yes, you're very kind.
Thank you, Dr. Parson. Now I would request our President, Dr. Shugan Sanji, to propose the vote of thanks.
And Veena, I start thanking our speaker today, Veena ji, and I thank Suresh Bhai to do my job in talking about her and telling how great work she is doing. Veena ji, I know you for last 10, 12 years. We have been interacting, and every time, every interaction is I would say, new beginning in my learning. Today, your talk had been very, very good, talking from the theoretical side and its impact through various studies. So I thank you, and ISJS is honored to have you today as our speaker. Narendra Bhai, you are a constant source of inspiration to ISJS. Whenever we have some questions or whenever we have some problems, we come to you and Suleik Bhai, and immediately the help is coming, and which really helps us in solving our problems. So thank you very much for being here today. Suleik Bhai, same for you. You know you are the constant. Actually, you are ISJS, for all practical purposes. I thank the organizers, Dr. Pandey, Pragya, and the entire team at ISJS, and the large audience that we had today. I thank you all, and I request the audience to please suggest the topics and the speakers whom they recommend that we invite them for such talks, so that it becomes participative also. So thank you all very much. Good night. Jai Jinesh.
Jai Jinesh.
Thank you so much. Dr. Pandey, do you want to say something or announce the next